I've noticed that there are kind of two conversations that that come up when people are working on stuff, when they want something. And one is a conversation about the equipment. So like if you were going, well, and the other, because this will make sense of the analogy, is the adventure. So if you're going on an adventure, if you're going to go up in the Himalayas, if you're going to climb Mount Everest, right, you're going to need equipment. And if you don't have good equipment and you don't know how to use it, you are going to have a hell of a problem on the adventure. Right? So when people come, and I'm saying people, but I mean me and I mean you, right? And they're like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that, but I don't know how to, and it's really hard, and I don't know. It 9 times out of 10, it's an equipment issue, not an adventure issue. Oh, this hill is really exhausting to climb. Well, you're just not fit enough yet. When you get fit, it won't be exhausting to climb. You know, oh God, this is, you know, there's just too many things to pay attention to all at once. I can't do it. Well, you just haven't gone through the learning curve yet. You haven't gone through the natural learning curve where you go from conscious competence to unconscious competence, where the system takes over and you don't have to pay attention to all those things yet. So the more you understand the equipment and how the equipment works and how much cool equipment you've actually got, like how well we're made, as my friend Mavis says, the easier the adventure is, the more fun the adventure gets. Like the adventure's never the problem. It's a misunderstanding about the equipment. So what's some of the equipment that we've got, right? Well, we've got built-in. Wisdom. We have this real-time responsive intelligence that will let us know what we need to know when we need to know it. That if we're willing to quiet enough to let it come through, will give us the answer to any question we could possibly have. Right? Now, we also have well-being. Like we come with a good feeling. It's a factory preset. It's the feeling of being alive. That's built in. So at a very basic level, we have wisdom and we have well-being, right? Now we've also got, what should we call it? The power to create, right? What I've been talking about as thought, the magic marker, right? So we have that. We can create in real time. We can create possibilities. We can create new ideas. We can create experiences. We've got the capacity for insight, which means that in any moment, we can get something that we literally did not know the moment before. We can understand something that we've been wrestling with for years or wrestling with for minutes. We can, at any moment, that pop comes and it just looks different. Okay, now that's all built into the system. So you'd think this person would be one hell of an adventurer, right? Like they're set, they're loaded, they got the latest gear, right? They got You know, it all matches, the wisdom matches the well-being, like, you know, it's like they got everything. Why aren't we more adventure ready more of the time? Why would we ever be daunted by an adventure? Well, see, we've got this habit of carrying around this giant bag called the past. And we also put our story of me in there. And we also put our story of life in there. And for most people, that bag's pretty full. It's really heavy. Anyone seen the movie The Mission? So if you haven't seen the movie The Mission, it's actually a really good movie, and it's got a great opening scene. So at least watch the first 5 minutes. But part of what happens in the movie is there's a soldier, and he's played by Robert De Niro in the movie, and he feels responsible for his men being slaughtered. And as a sort of a self-punishment, he gathers up all the armor. This is set in, I think, the 17th century. All the armor of all the dead, of his entire troop, in a big net bag. And as penance, he carries it up this side of a waterfall to where the mission is at the top of the waterfall. And he's a strong guy, but it's killing him. Well, that's us a lot of the time. We're not just this, we're this carrying this, but that's not all, right? Instead of seeing clean the field of pure potential and possibility that is kind of what the adventure is going into the field of pure possibility to see what happens, going into the place of where anything can happen to see what happens in the world of form. We use our power to create scary things that can eat us, and monsters that could drag us down. And this one is one of those weird ones that seems like a good idea at the time. You know, we create cute little goals that we think are really what's on offer, that we're going to tick off one day when we get them and feel good about ourselves. Well, now you can see this doesn't look like quite such a no-brainer to go out and adventure, because there's monsters, and the tick list is like, I mean, it sounds pretty good, I guess. And we're carrying this burden with us. And so we lose sight of all this. Our attention's not here. It's on, oh God, this is heavy. Oh man, that looks scary. Really, I'm doing all that for this? We lose sight of what's on offer, of what's possible, because it doesn't exist yet. Like, it's difficult to keep something that's invisible in sight. And yet that's what the adventure is all about. Now, what happens in the movie is there's this catalyst. Not really, but extending a metaphor for my own purposes here. One of the characters is watching the soldier carry the burden. And at just one point, he takes his sword out and he severs it. And it goes falling down the mountain. And at first, the guy is distraught. How dare you take away my burden? And he runs back to try and gather it all back up. And he's sobbing at what he thinks he's lost. And then he starts sobbing because he realizes what he's found. And then there is no burden anymore. Now he can turn back up the mountain, and he still has all this, but he's not being dragged down by that at all. That's on offer for us. We do not have to carry our past with us everywhere we go. We literally can live. It's not, it didn't happen. It's not, you'll forget. No, you can go back and remember anytime you want. I like the way Mavis Karn sometimes talks about it. She says, oh, I have a past. It's all on my shelves of my library. And anytime I want, if I think it'll be helpful, I can take a book down and I can look at when my baby died. I can look at when this happened. I can look at the nice things that happened. But I don't need to leave the books lying open in front of me everywhere. It gets kind of distracting. I just put them back when I'm done and carry on. Right? If I start seeing that these monsters are made of thought, they're my scary imaginary futures. Right? They're, what if this happens? Yeah, but what if this happens? Yeah, but what if this happens? And I try and conquer them. Right? I try and slay the imaginary monsters before I've even started up Everest, before I even start on my adventure. It's not safe to start my adventure till I've killed every imaginary monster, but I'm creating imaginary monsters faster than I can kill them. And eventually it just is too much. It's not worth it. But if I see that that's what's going on, I don't have to keep creating them. And if I do keep creating them, at no point do I have to conquer them, because they're imaginary monsters. And we don't have to solve imaginary problems, ever. And when we start seeing that the tick list is such a poor substitute for possibility, that the best things you've imagined for yourself aren't a patch on the best things that have actually happened for you. And that just gets more and more true as you go. And I mean, check it for yourself. But it's been true for everyone I've ever said it to and asked about it. It's true for me. My biggest goals for myself are laughable compared to my actual life. Then suddenly the adventure starts being really exciting again. And it's like, I can't wait to go on the adventure. And I'm loaded, man. I've got wisdom. I've got well-being. I've got the capacity for insight. I've got the power to create. I'm good. I don't know what's going to happen. That's half the fun of going on an adventure. That's kind of the point. If I know what's going to happen, why bother? Well, it's safe. It's responsible. It's the grown-up thing to do. So this is what is on offer for all of us in our lives. For life to be a grand adventure that we are incredibly well equipped for. That we have more energy each day we are on the adventure, not less. You don't burn out on this path. You are fueled by these adventures, because each day more of the well-being comes through and more of the wisdom comes through, and you have more insights and you get more skilled at your power to create and let the hand of God guide you. And it's just so many fucking cool things are on offer. And then you look back and you go, my God, what was I thinking? Well, whatever you were thinking. You do not need to create a past and carry it with you to have a wonderful life and be safe. You do not need to create imaginary futures, scary or grand, to have an incredible adventure of a life. That got very preachy, didn't it? Got excited there. But it's true.